You're listening to Insurance Matchmaking, your path to health, life, and Medicare coverage with Matt Libby Insurance. And now, sharing his knowledge, here's your host, Matt Libby.
Well, welcome back to Insurance Matchmaking, and Merry Christmas. Well, it's almost like Christmas. As we're recording this today, this is October 15th, not tax day. Sorry about that. But October 15th, that's the day we can start enrolling people in their Part D prescription drug plans and their Medicare Advantage plans for 2026. And I've got some just sitting waiting for me. I've already met with some folks, and I just need to go, and now I can submit the application for the plans that we decided were going to be the right ones for them. I have Elijah back with me this morning. You came on the show before you went to Agent Boot Camp, right?
Right.
So I'm going to ask him to maybe kind of share some of the nuggets he picked up from there that are shareable to the public. Of course, it's more sales training, but he can still kind of address what he learned. He's gotten certified. I think I've mentioned that, but he's gotten the AHIP certification, got some carriers under his belt, been calling some people, working on setting up some appointments. And I guess start with boot camp. Kind of give us a review what you got out of that.
Yeah, so after taking the AHIP and kind of learning the basics of Medicare and Medicare Advantage and what all goes into that, boot camp was more in-depth as far as learning what plans match with what ancillary products, so that way the customers can actually receive a more well-rounded coverage, so that way the customer's better taken care of. So, going through the alphabet soup that is Medicare, figuring out, what works best for the client. And that was my biggest takeaway from that.
Elijah mentioned the alphabet soup, and I always share in my workshops, we talk about A, B, C, and D. A and B is your original Medicare. C is when you combine that Medicare, the benefits of A and B into a Medicare Advantage, into a health plan. That's Part C. And then Part D is your drugs, and that's probably going to be the easiest one to remember is D. Instead of D standing for dogs, D stands for drugs. And I was like, that makes sense, but it was the government that did it, so I don't think they did it on purpose. The boot camp, I went to it a few months ago. Thought, I kind of needed some refresher, and then I went the week before Elijah went down. I did not the agent boot camp, but it's called Behind the Agency, and it's looking into ways to scale and build the agency, and part of that is bringing on new agents like Elijah. So we hope to do a little bit more of that the next year. So, and you mentioned you had done the AHIP prior to going down. I don't think you'd gotten to any carriers yet. I think you had just done the AHIP, and then it was kind of going that next step.
Yeah.
So you've had to go through that process. We've been calling some people. You sat in on some appointments with me with some reviews. What's your mindset? Because my mindset's completely different. This is going to be my 12th AEP. And each year's a little different. But my approach, now that I've built a book of business, I'm finding AEP, I spend a lot more time working with my current clients. I got a voicemail this morning. I need to come in and review, do my review. So I've got some clients that they want to look at it every year. And I've stressed this year's kind of important that we need to look at everybody because there's a lot of changes. But I really when I first started in the business, I got a lot of new clients this time of year. Because I didn't have a lot of clients. Now that I have clients and have built that, now they're like, I want to make sure I have the right plan, so I have to take that time to meet with them. Elijah's coming in it from a different angle. He hasn't done it before. So what's been kind of, and I know there's stressors on both of us, what's some of the things that you've kind of seen that maybe is stressing you out or something I really need to focus on this now that the wheels are starting to turn?
Yeah, I guess one of the biggest stressors is really learning the pros and cons of each carrier. Mm-hmm. And the biggest thing is, no plan is a bad plan, but
no plan's a perfect plan.
And no plan's a perfect plan. But finding out what the customer's needs are, putting it all into the system, and finding a plan that is most well suited for the client. So my biggest takeaway is just taking a consultative approach and working through it step by step, because each client's going to have their own wants and needs.
Right.
And so there are plans that would match what they need. Insurance matchmaking.
Yeah, insurance matchmaking. That's why it is. That's our goal, is to match you with the right plan. And unfortunately, sometimes for me, and also for Elijah, is and I'm going to say that perfect match. You can, like I say, we can't say perfect or best, but find out that your match is the plan that you have. Now, sometimes what we like to do, though, is, and Elijah kind of alluded to, he talked about those ancillary plans, those cancer plans, the hospital indemnity, the home health plans. Those are all little things that kind of fill some of the gaps, because every insurance plan has gaps. I don't care if it's a Medicare supplement, if it's Medicare only. As we said, there's no perfect plan, but we want to try to find, I'm going to get in dangerous territory here. I want to say best, but we're going to find the one that's going to fit most of your needs, because sometimes it's not all of them. I worked with a lady this week that just, has several different doctors, and her dentist and her eye doctor, just some of them were not major, but we're looking at plans and we're checking the networks and seeing the doctors in the network, and it's like, oh, that one's a deal breaker.
Yeah.
And he's like, I can find a new eye doctor. He's like, but that one's a deal breaker. So, so that's the thing. People, if you're used to your doctor, some people, they'd like the excuse to fire their doctor. And it's like, oh, I just need to find a doctor that takes this new plan and my copays are less, or the max out-of-pocket's less. We talk about those Part B givebacks that help pay a Part B premium. So there's all those little things. And Elijah he's been calling some of the people that our office has had contact with in the past, but for whatever reason didn't do business at that time. So just kind of touching back and reminding everybody, hey, it's AEP. You might want to relook at things, and we're here to help.
Yeah.
You want to share anything on some of the feedback on that? I know, of course, sometimes you call people, you're bothering them, and then other people are like, oh, I'm so glad you called. What's kind of been your mix there on those?
Yeah, a lot of people are just glad that, we're here to give them a reminder that it is time to review the plans. Some people are saying, yeah, we're really happy with our current plan, and that's amazing. I'm glad people love their plan. Mm-hmm. But as you know, Matt, a lot of plans are changing this year.
Yeah.
A lot of drug plans, a lot of doctors are leaving certain networks. Mm-hmm. New networks are coming in, like Devoted. And so you've got a whole lot of plans shifting in the regions of Tennessee. So not a lot of plans are exiting the market, but a lot of doctors are shifting what's in network or not. So my advice is really to come in, review what your current plan is, make sure your doctors and drugs are still in network,
right,
and then go from there.
Yeah, and you may think of something on that. You talked about the smaller carriers that are kind of new. There's a carrier, I'm not going to say their name, but they kind of focus on the special needs plans, whether it's the dual special needs for the those on Medicaid, but also the chronic special needs. One of the things, the email I got yesterday was that all stages of kidney disease qualify for their chronic special needs plan. So a lot of them, it's that you have to be in kidney failure. You have to be stage 3 or 4, or to qualify for the plan. And these plans really help, because one of the things with this plan, and the other plans may do it, we haven't done a lot with chronic special needs plans in Tennessee. We didn't have them till just the last couple of years. So they're kind of they're blossoming. A lot of different carriers do it. Now, this one small carrier. Now, unfortunately, this carrier is not in the Upper Cumberland, but it does include Wilson County and Davidson County. So it's more, and it also like the Memphis area, but more of the Nashville area. But some of our listeners are close by or have relatives, that maybe live in, in Carthage or Lebanon, somewhere over that way that might be in that network. And the neat thing with the plan is, because with the kidney, especially if they're on dialysis, because with dialysis, if you're going to the dialysis center, you're going 3 days a week. Everybody does. If you're on, there's also what's called peritoneal dialysis, something you can do at home. But if you have to go and have the dialysis machine and the dialysis, you're going 3 days a week, and this plan will actually provide transportation. Because I know a lot of times you may be able to drive you there, but after you go through that process, you might not feel like driving home. So that could be a big benefit. So that's something and again, that's why to look at, see if there's a new plan. And I know sometimes people are scared of new plans. The beauty is, there's two things on that. One, we have what's called the Medicare Advantage Open Enrollment, which is from January 1st to March 31st. So if you sign up for a plan during AEP and in January you find out, I should have kept the plan I had or not picked this plan, we can still switch you anytime. And it'll take effect the first of the next month. So if you change it in January, it changes in February. If we change in March, it'll be on April 1st. So you can make those changes. And then also the annual enrollment. You got that. The other was, I don't know this company. Who knows if they're going to be around? The great news is, and that's one of the things with Medicare, is like sometimes it might make sense to get a plan you think's going to leave. Because if that plan leaves your service area for whatever reason, the company goes out of business or they just stop serving your county, that generates a special enrollment period that you can get, and you can get a guaranteed issue Medicare supplement. So your health condition won't preclude you from getting that Plan G, Plan N, Plan F. So those are things not to worry so much about. I don't know this company. I get that. I have to overcome that a lot with like the Medicare supplements. A Plan G is a Plan G. They have different premiums, and it doesn't really matter because there's not a network. So you don't have to worry. Will my doctor accept it? Your doctor's accepting your Medicare. You're good.
Yeah, that's the biggest difference between a Medicare Advantage and a supplement. Medicare Advantage replaces original Medicare, whereas a supplement just supplements what's already there.
Right.
And so with the supplement, there is no network. You can go to any doctor that accepts original Medicare, and then they help make those co-insurance payments.
Right. So, and one of the things I was thinking on that, we talk about the cost. Now, yes, you are going to pay more up front for a Medicare supplement, and I still don't know, I don't have confirmed what the Part B premium, the Part B deductible, the Part A deductible, what's the deductible on the high deductible G or F plans. Don't have those numbers yet. CMS is always seems like it's November before we actually have confirmation. I've had some numbers that the Part B premium instead of $185 is going to be $193.50. Don't hold me to that. That's numbers I've heard. And then the Part B deductible, which is currently $257, is going to be $288. Like I said, those are estimates. There's just rumors I've heard. I'm expecting the Part A deductible to be over $1,700 this year, $1,670 currently. So $1,700. It's already been close to $1,700, and it usually goes up, $20, $30, each year anyway. So it's right in that range. It's probably going to be, and I still expect it to be just over $1,700. And again, if you have a Medicare Advantage, you have a Plan G or Plan N, you're not really worried about that Part A deductible. One of the things I mentioned before, and we're coming up on the break, but pretty much every Advantage plan that I'm looking at right now has some sort of deductible on the Part D. So if you've been used to not having a deductible, we may want to relook at what you have. It may make sense to change your plan just because of how it's going to cover your drugs. So we're going on the break here, and we'll be right back.
Join us for the 29th Annual Cooking on the Square, Friday, October 31st, presented by the Willow Point Group, Baird Private Wealth Management, with over 60 cook teams and 20 bake teams in Cajun Gumbo. This is your chance to help Habitat for Humanity build homes for local families. Special thanks to all of our sponsors like First United Methodist Church, Real Estate Professionals of Tennessee, and Highlands Elite Real Estate for their support. Grab your tickets now at local banks, the Habitat office, Habitat Restore, or online at uchabitat.org. Come out for a party with a purpose.
When it comes to protecting your home, trust is everything. At Henry Brothers Roofing, we've been serving the Cookeville community for years. Starting as a family business, we've grown into a team of 60 dedicated professionals. We offer the most professional roofing solutions tailored to your needs. Recognized as Upper Cumberland's #1 roofing company, we are truly a name you can trust. For quality and reliability, choose Henry Brothers Roofing today. Call Henry Brothers Roofing at 931-854-1027.
And now, back to Insurance Matchmaking with Matt Libby Insurance.
All right, we are back at Insurance Matchmaking. Elijah Ridley, a new agent in my office, is also here today. I say new. He's been on the show with me a couple times, but he's still new. But I don't think the paint's dry. Might still be a little wet behind the ears, as they say.
Yeah.
But I was talking before the break about, a lot of the plans are adding deductibles to the Part D, and now I forgot. Something that said, "Oh yeah, I want to say this when I come back in." And I talked last week about what was a lot of the changes in the under 65 market. We still don't have anything firm on it. I did read something this morning. Basically, they're still negotiating about the enhanced subsidies for the marketplace, and a lot of people are kind of optimistic that's going to be kind of the deal that pushes it over the edge that we open the government back up. So a little bit, somewhat optimistic that people aren't going to be hit quite as hard as they've been forecasting on the marketplace. Again, my thing is, yes, the lower income or middle income people will get hit a little bit. I think, they're going to see an increase in their premium, but the people who are going to hit the most are those that were at the higher income that qualified for a subsidy, but they're above that 400%. So, and we'll know more about that in November. And now I remembered what I wanted to lead into on the break is booking times with us. You can go if you go to mattlibbyinsurance.com, and if you go to insurancematchmaking.com, there's a link to take you to mattlibbyinsurance.com. Both Elijah and I have business pages on Facebook, so if you're on Facebook, search us out and please like and follow the page so you can keep up with what we've got going. But on the About Us page on mattlibbyinsurance.com, there'll be a button and it'll say work with Matt, work with Elijah, and that will take you to our calendars. Now, Elijah just still has one. I've got a couple different ones because I've got one that like, hey, if you think you would to be on the radio, you can schedule that time and get on the calendar so that when I show up here for the recording session on Wednesday morning that, you're here. And I'll know you're coming. It's not like you just go be surprised you're here. But so that's one calendar I have completely separate from my other calendars. And then I do break it down for whether it's health insurance, whether it's Medicare. I have one that's like health insurance review. And if you've never talked to me before, that's not the right calendar. That calendar is basically, and it's not even really for my Medicare clients, it's for my healthcare clients that, hey, we just need to update the income, verify the address, verify the, members of the family that are getting insurance, and then reprocess that enrollment. Those are 30-minute time slots. And the reason they're a short time slot, because most of the time when it's just a review, it is just a quick, and maybe takes me 5 to 10 minutes at most to go through the health insurance application and complete that for the next year. So that's why those are very short. And you don't even have to come in. You can set it up as a phone call. We also do Google Meet. One of the issues I'm having with the calendar, though, and it seems like it works both ways. You could pick Google Meet to pick for the meeting, but it seems to put the person booking the appointment, the client, as being the organizer of the meet. So it's like I can't start it and go share my page. I've had to do a couple times. I've had to go ahead and resend a new link to the people and say, okay, and then I've started that meeting. But I like doing that because I can share my computer screen with you so you can see what I'm talking about. So it's not just words coming over like being on the radio now. You're hearing me talk about all this stuff, and I'm visualizing, I'm looking, I see that computer screen where I'm telling you that you need to click and do this because I do it and it's in my mind's eye. A lot of you, I feel like sometimes when I'm talking like I am right now, that they're drifting off to Charlie Brown's Teacher. Wah, 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 wah. So it really helps. And also, and then we, and I know some people don't like the fact because we have being on the camera, we can see each other. But being able to see you when I'm talking to you, especially when I'm explaining things, is really helpful because I can see by looking at you that what I just said didn't make any sense whatsoever. It made perfect sense to me, but you get, as we say, the deer in the headlights look. I go, okay, I probably need to back up and repeat, or expand a little bit on that because I will get in. I think I've already said D-SNP once this morning.
Yeah,
and people are going, that's insurance jargon, or it says D-SNP, SNP. The SNP is SNP, it's short for Special Needs Plan. And the D on that is dual. That's for people who have Medicare and Medicaid. And then we have the C-SNP, which is you have a chronic condition. And not all chronic conditions are going to apply. It's going to be congestive heart failure, kidney failure, and diabetes. Those are the three. There's other things out there. They just don't fall into for these plans. People think, well, what about long-going cancer or something like that? Yeah, you may be in a situation where it's chronic, but the chronic special needs plans aren't fit. They're not fit. They're not designed for people that maybe have a long bout with cancer. It is what it is. I'm not judging on it. It's just it isn't available. That's something maybe you come later. But again, if you're on a Medicare supplement and you are in a chronic health condition, I probably wouldn't recommend an Advantage plan, even though these chronic special needs have a lot of extra benefits, because you're going to have a lot of other health needs. You're going to hit that maximum out of pocket on that plan every year. And generally, if you're hitting that maximum out of pocket, it's usually more than what you're paying in your premium. Now, the other downside is, a lot of those specialty drugs or whatever can make your drug plans and stuff very expensive. But we have to really look at it before we say, because you're not switching back. If you drop a Medicare supplement and go to an Advantage plan, you could risk that, you're not going to get that supplement back. If you wait, if you come back in the first year, you can come back, you get what they call guaranteed issue rights. But if you go for a couple of years and go, I should have stayed on my plan, and you've had that chronic condition, no carrier's going to take you. So then that's why I mentioned, that's when you hope, maybe that carrier leaves your county and now you have a special enrollment to get that guaranteed issue, but that's very rare. Now, there are states that have what they call anniversary or birthday rules, and you can go in some states you can change your plan in a year. That's not the way it is here in Tennessee. That's not the way it is or actually, Kentucky has implemented a birthday rule. I forgot that. They did do that this last year. I just haven't been dealing with them that much. But generally, on the birthday rule, again, it's if you have a Medicare supplement, you can change your plan, plan from a G to an N. It would go with another carrier, but it doesn't mean you necessarily can go from a Medicare Advantage to a Medicare supplement. So there's a lot of those little things, and those things we have to keep up with. And like I said, I totally forgot about Kentucky having the birthday rule because it's just they didn't for years, and generally the states that have those guaranteed issue rights ongoing are not states I get licensed in because their plans are very expensive. They're not competitive, confusing. I can stick in the smaller market where I know what I'm doing. Yeah.
And so like we talked about earlier, I'm making calls, and you know what the scariest words I hear are? I'm registering myself. I mean, you have years of experience. I've been going through this, 40, 60 hours a week for months, and there's still intricacies that are new to me. And so if somebody's registering themselves and somebody sits down and maybe spends 2 hours trying to pick a plan, you might not be picking the one that's most suited for you.
Right.
So, my recommendation is to meet with us. So that way, we can help guide you and educate you along the process. So that way you get a plan that's most suitable for you.
Yeah. Now, if you're registering yourself as in you're just going to socialsecurity.gov. It's actually, if you go to medicare.gov, you're going to end up on socialsecurity.gov to enroll in your Medicare. You've got that 3 months prior to your birth month that, yes, or if you're leaving your group plan, there's paper. And you can do that yourself, and that part, I don't discourage people from doing that themselves because that is a little time, because it is just kind of a fill out thing and then wait. But what gets a lot of people is they think they're going to go do that and then pick and sign up their plan, and they have their health coverage. No, you just have the original Medicare. Speeds up our process if you've already got that Medicare card, that red, white, and blue card has your Medicare number, because that's the number we need to be able to enroll you in the plans. But I think a lot of times people think they're going to take care of it themselves because it's going to save them money. It's kind of like the for sale by owner when it comes to real estate, that you're not paying a real estate agent 6% to sell your house, but if that real estate agent is getting you 15% more for your house and you're selling on your own, you're losing money. I've heard enough to that. I understand that from my real estate agents. It's like, I would never, personally, I don't want to deal with it. Let somebody else deal with it. I'll pay them their commission. We don't cost you anything. You don't save on the premium. You don't get a low rate because you did it yourself. We earn a commission if we enroll you, but that's all programmed in expenses, which is kind of why we're facing all these Part D drugs and these Medicare Advantage plans that are going non-commissionable. They've done that because they don't want us to enroll people in those plans. It's not that they can't afford to pay us. It's not that they can't afford to pay us. It is that their profit margins have really shrunk because of the Inflation Reduction Act. So, and they've got plans. They've determined this plan's not profitable. They've already done the bid on it. CMS has approved it for the year. They can't just cancel the plan, but they can make it harder for people to enroll in that plan. And that's some of what, so again, that's some of the knowledge you get from us. But we get a commission if we help you sign up for the plan. It's not costing you anything for that. The other thing is when things arise, I don't know how many times I've had people had questions about their plan, and I can call the insurance company and get that clarified. Maybe you feel like there's an issue with a claim. Why didn't it get processed? And I can call and verify that they actually received the claim. Those are the things. We can't do that if we're not your agent.
Right.
And again, That doesn't cost you anything. That's some of the customer service you can get from us being your agent. So, those plans change. I had a long discussion with one of my clients yesterday, and again, it's one of those, hey, there's some changes to your plan. I want you to be aware. As it stands right now, he wants to stay where he's at. And that wasn't actually my recommendation, but I laid it out. And the good thing is, we're early in the enrollment season. He could reach back out to me and say, after thinking about it and looking at what you sent me, let's make that change. So I could still have him because he's got till October 15th to December 7th to do that. So that's one of the beauties of the enrollment season. And like I said, and the perks of working with an agent. Out of time here, Elijah, so go ahead and do a wrap up.
Yeah, so I like what you said. Coming in and consulting with us, doing a review, we'll give you a recommendation, but we're not going to twist your arm into making a decision you don't want to. So we just take the information and give you a recommendation. We
like happy clients.
Absolutely.
The thing is, if I have to force you to sign up for something, you're not going to keep it. And we don't like chargebacks. I'd rather not make anything on a sale is to make a sale and then a month or two later, the insurance company is saying I owe them money because you no longer have that plan. So we like long-term clients. I've got some clients that I've signed them 10, 11, 12 years ago, and they still have the same plan. So those make my life easier, and then I go and I find new people that I can help. So the more I can help, the better. So looks like we are out of time. Remember, at Matt Libby Insurance, we can cover you from head to toe. It doesn't have to cost you an arm and a leg. And keep listening to Insurance Matchmaking, and we'll speak next week.
You've been listening to Insurance Matchmaking with Matt Libby, your path to health, life, and Medicare coverage with Matt Libby Insurance.